So as I said in the last video where I reviewed The Bad Batch, I said about The Mandalorian being filmed next month, also known as September. Now it is the same day of recording. I recorded that about 10 seconds ago, and it is now. So by the time you're watching it, it's probably a bit of distance. It might even be September, but I don't think it will be. So that's filming next month, potentially this month, depending on when you're viewing this. And that's brought me into the lies of the Mandoverse, also known as the Dave Filoni-verse, or whatever the hell you want to call it, really. The time frame and episodes that Mandalorian, Book of Boba, Ahsoka, all them lot are in. So with that, I wanted to talk a little bit about that universe and a theory that I have seen come up on Star Wars Meg, which I agree with, but I want to change it myself. A link to her will be in the description. I'm back from having that phone call. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the theory is that with the Book of Boba, which is part of the Mandoverse, we saw a teaser at the end of season 2, that potentially Mace Windu from the prequels will return. This does technically make sense from a business point of view and a fan base point of view. So I'm going to start with the business point of view. A lot of the people that grew up watching the prequels or grew up seeing it in the cinema are now adults or my age. I was born in 2005, just before Revenge of the Sith was released, and so I grew up with the prequels and the original trilogy, but my trilogy was the prequels, so that is my favourite trilogy because I have the most memories of that because of all the Lego pieces, the films, the books, all of that stuff was there when I was young, and obviously still here now. It hasn't gone anywhere. But so a lot of the people that age are now my age or adults when they saw it in the cinema. So the hype for prequel stuff has never really been stronger. We've seen this from the Clone Wars season 7 being released. Obviously that is prequel content. We saw the Bad Batch, and that was prequels as well. Granted, it's off the hype of season 7, but it's still prequels. And we even saw the Boba Fett in The Mandalorian season 2 say the line, "I'm just a simple man trying to make my way through the universe," I think it was he said. Or was that Jango Fett? It was one of them, but Jango Fett said something incredibly similar, but instead of saying universe, he said galaxy. Not quite 100% sure which way around that is. I think it's that way around. It could be the other way around. They're pretty much exactly the same. So apologies if I got that bit wrong. But that is through the hype and nostalgia of the prequels. And we saw a lot of the music from the Bad Batch was prequel music. Especially on one of the finales, The Return to Kamino. The music they played was the same music that was played when Obi-Wan first went to Kamino in episode 2. I loved that. I noticed it first time, and I noticed a lot of YouTubers noticed that first time. And it hit me with nostalgia. And so that made me think, for us, it would be great to have something from the prequel trilogy back in the Mandoverse. We obviously had that of Ahsoka Tano in the season 2 of The Mandalorian, but in the Book of Boba, we could have Mace Windu. Which does make sense, because obviously Boba Fett is the son of Jango Fett, technically, and Boba Fett watched Mace Windu kill Jango Fett, and then was spending a lot of the Clone Wars trying to kill Mace Windu because he didn't forgive him. So, it does make sense in the fan base. Plus, for business, everyone likes the prequels now, after apparently hating it. I never hated it personally, but your point is as good as yours. And it would make sense to bring back a loved character into another series. Similar to how they brought back Ahsoka, why not do it for Mace Windu? Now the issue I have is that it kind of hasn't been teased or anything been led into it. So I feel like if Mace Windu did return to Book of Boba, there would have to be a season 2, which there hasn't been confirmed one yet. But obviously there might be one through, because we didn't know there was going to be season 2 of The Bad Batch until we got a little bit through. It was like, hang on a minute, this isn't going to be over in one series. And surprise, surprise, there's a season 2. So, when we watch the Book of Boba, it's currently one season. But when we get a couple of episodes in, maybe even one, we might come to realise that this isn't going to be over in one series. So, potentially that might lead into other things of the Mandoverse, but it could also lead into season 2 of the Book of Boba. Who knows? But I feel like it would make more sense to be in a season 2 and have like a journey and a tease for Mace Windu's return. We saw this in The Mandalorian, surprisingly, by Grogu being teased a little bit to be Force sensitive, and then him having to put him back to Jedi, which that Jedi was then Ahsoka Tano, and then she teased Luke. So we might need a teasering through the first season to Mace Windu before we actually find out he's alive. Now, we've seen time and time in the past that characters can die and come back, or even do worse. Obviously, we had stuff like Anakin Skywalker was pretty much dead at one point, let's face it, episode 3. He didn't exactly look very healthy. I mean, he looked a bit like a burnt chicken nugget, to be honest with you. And then in the Clone Wars, we saw that of Maul surviving. Literally, Boba Fett in The Mandalorian Season 2 survived a Sarlacc pit, which we all thought for 40-odd years, he's dead. And it turns out he's not dead. Because money and fans mean money and fans. That doesn't really make sense, but there's the theory, so I feel like it's going to be a season 2 rather than a season 1. But that's just my thoughts. It might not even be a thing. He might even return in comics, or the books, or even something else like The Mandalorian, or Ahsoka, because, there was a little bit of beef in season 7 between Mace Windu and Ahsoka, so it could also make sense to return in there, because that is leading off The Mandalorian as well as, so it might be teased during The Mandalorian, or the Book of Boba, into the Ahsoka series. It might even be in something else. Could even be Bad Batch. Who knows? Who really cares? I mean, it's stated before that George Lucas thinks he's survived. Which, surprise, surprise, he's the creator. So, if he says something, it's normally kind of happens, to be honest. He said the same thing with the prequels, and look what happened there. So, George Lucas said it's the thing. Samuel L. Jackson, who plays Mace Windu in not just live action but also animation as well, he said that he'd love to reprise the role, and he thinks Mace Windu could have survived. And it does actually make sense, him surviving. I mean, he was only cut his hand off and thrown out a window hundreds of foot with lightning striked on him. I mean, simple work for a Jedi, am I right? I mean, Luke got his hand chopped off, Luke fell from a high place, Luke had lightning, he was perfectly fine. So why not have the same thing for Mace Windu, who was one of the most powerful Jedi of all time? I'd also like to see him try and, be thrown more in towards the dark side pull, because I'm going to give you a longer episode here of the channel. So Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber because Samuel L. Jackson wanted one. Okay, that is true, but the actual canonic reasoning of Star Wars is because he had a hard time between the light side and the dark side. Wanted to be a Jedi, but could feel the pull a lot through the dark side. So his purple lightsaber was to signify the fact that he's between the two and uses powers of the dark side for good. So yeah, that's a short way of explaining it, but that is basically what happened. So it would be fun to see, because Anakin betrayed him and Anakin was a Jedi, he's then kind of lost a lot of faith in Jedi views and felt the pull even more for the dark side. So potentially is even off-balanced and a really, really powerful being because of this. Because he's so strong and, so twisted in his mind, yet so forceful. So, I would love to see him survive in that way. Even, I'd prefer it to be that way rather than full Jedi or full Sith. Because he was never full Jedi. And he would never be full Sith because he's too open-minded. Like, his whole point is that he feels the dark side but wants to do things for good. Which is why he's such a great Jedi. And that is why he was so beloved. Because he had that twisted menacingness, which was very similar to that of Anakin Skywalker. Just that he had a very difficult way of showing his emotions. Whereas Anakin decided to show us emotions by killing small children. So, but anyway, that is my theory of how Mace Windu will survive. We've gone over 10 minutes, which I haven't done for a very long time. So, I'm going to end up here. So, if you've got any other theories or anything you want me to go through on the channel, or if you've got any queries about this theory, then please do let me know in the comment section. I will address them either in the comment section or make another video, maybe a part 2 to this if necessary. But I'll probably make even more Star Wars content in the near future because I like Star Wars. That's pretty much it, really. I mean, let's face it. If someone makes Star Wars content, then they've got to like Star Wars at least a little bit. Unless they're just doing it for money, then fair enough, to be honest. But I'm not doing it for money. I don't get paid for this stuff. I do this because I can. So, thank you guys for watching. If you have enjoyed, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Please let me know in the comment section down below. If you've got any queries or any questions about this theory or any other theories that you want me to go through on the channel, please let me know. Thank you, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.